Electric vehicles and classic cars? So last weekend I went to a classic car show in Perth. I realised that Teslas and electric vehicles are not exactly in the vintage or post-vintage type group, but we did have several Teslas there on display, including mine. But I took the opportunity to have a wander around and saw some real beauties. I've also had to cut out the soundtrack for most of it, as there was music playing over loudspeakers as well as some announcements, and the music would have got me a copyright strike, which I don't want. Cameron gave us quite a bit of information regarding his EV conversions on a couple of VWs from the 1960s, and some of their stats, such as their acceleration, a little VW Beetle from the 1960s accelerating from 0 to 100 in 6.5 seconds, which is pretty quick for a little old Beetle. Here we have some of the old VW combi vans. I used to drive these around back in the late 60s. Oh my goodness me, some of these do bring back some memories. So here we go with my little chat with Cameron, the managing director from Unique EVs.
So this is a 1969 Volkswagen Type 3 that was converted using a Hyper 9 motor, and we've got 5 Tesla batteries in this vehicle, and we have 2 batteries in one battery pack underneath the rear seat here, and then we have another 3 that are sitting in the front of the car. So this one's got about 120 brake horsepower, do 0 to 100 in about 6.5 seconds. And
that's pretty reasonable.
It is reasonable. It is reasonable.
Faster than the original.
It is. Look, these cars really lend themselves to the electric vehicle conversions because of the actual performance originally from that they came out with. So yeah, that one is I think it's a 64 Beetle, that one. Which has got a very similar setup. The battery packs are once again behind the seat and also in the front boot. And yeah, with the 2 battery packs getting around 150 kilometres per charge, which yeah,
that's pretty reasonable.
It is, yeah. And look, it's a lot like mobile phones. You often where you're going, you're plugging your car in, and therefore you're sort of recharging up to that 150 kilometre range fairly frequently, so you don't have to go to the service station, fill up, and then get your range out of it. And a lot of people are also using the cars now for their daily drivers, because of obviously the reduced fuel costs and the ease of driving, lack of overheating and all those things that you get, as you would know, with your Tesla vehicle.
150k is great for a city car. I mean, the average is about 39 kilometres a day travelled, the average car.
That's right, and a lot of businesses are actually providing charge stations in their car parks. We can do air conditioning, so a lot of the air conditioning, there's a lot of retrofit 12-volt air conditioning systems that are coming out now. Power steering is also possible. So it really is modernising a classic that really makes it quite fun to drive.
Great, thanks very much.
No worries.
Student designing reduction gears for that unit. Good job. And with probably looking at
when these were first made, these were meant to be like waterproof, and when they did
the motors are talking about
adverts for them here in Australia. They were driving it underwater, like actual underwater. Yes. How fun is that?
Yes.
The 1969 VW Type 3 would cost $44,500 for the EV conversion, but it will do 0 to 100 or 60 miles an hour in 6.5 seconds, which is pretty reasonable. And I'm sure some of you oldies amongst us would recognise these old buses. We've probably ridden on them ourselves. Some of these poor old vehicles are in need of a bit of love and care, which they're gradually getting restored, but they're brought here, and some of them have been restored beautifully. These are a little bit more modern, but still an absolute delight to look at. So I think we're still going to need petrol and so on to keep some of these lovely old vintage, post-vintage, classic type cars on the road. They need to be running every now and again rather than just left to rust and not use them. I think it would be a shame. So I don't propose that we convert everything to an EV. We need to keep some of these old vehicles in a decent condition and running nicely. So these are some of the old Leylands, for those of you that remember them. And as you can see, some of them have been restored beautifully. And then the old Buicks, you've probably seen a lot of these in the old movies, and these look pretty damn good to me. And then to finish it off, right at one end of all the displays, there were some of these. Some beautiful old thermal traction engines. Small ones. Absolutely beautiful. So I hope you've enjoyed this little blast from the past, if you like. I know these, as I said, aren't exactly vintage or classic, but they're still around. They will be eventually. Here we've got the Tesla Owners Club Electric Vehicle Association race car that does the Targa West rallies. So thanks very much for watching. Please don't forget, click like and subscribe. It will help the channel be promoted to other people.